Hey, good morning, friends. Today, my friends, is Friday, June the 20th, 2025, and the time now is 7:22 a.m. So, friends, I want to talk briefly about the situation between Iran and Israel. And I want to talk specifically about the fact that there is an ongoing civil war within the MAGA Union or within the right of the United States political sphere or political apparatus. This pertains to the current situation in the Middle East between Israel and Iran and the possibility that the United States could get involved. And also what many in the Trump Union or the Trump team are saying. And in this case, I'm talking about those in the Trump's presidency and the administration, as well as the average Republicans and MAGA, and many in the Republican and MAGA sphere who are also influencers. Now, friends, as we all know by now, the situation between Israel and Iran is tense, and the possibility of an all out war, which could involve the United States, is very much huge. It is increasing. So, about last Thursday, we know that Israel launched an attack into Iran, which now is said to have been carried out by infiltrators, Israeli Mossad infiltrator within Iran. They basically carried out a successful attack against Iran. And friends, as part of this attack package, the Israelis managed to damage some of Iran's nuclear facilities to the point where there has been rumors of leakage, okay, from these facilities. Attacking any country's nuclear facility is a very serious thing. Basically, it's a declaration of war. We all know recently Ukraine did the same thing when Ukraine attacked air bases in Russia, deep into Russia, and also destroying Russian fleets, bomber fleets. And friends, many had sounded the alarm because this is a very serious thing because between the United States and Russia as part of their nuclear deals, both countries supposed to display, okay, out in the open their nuclear bombers for the others to see in their satellite. By Ukraine attacking the Russian fleets, it's a threat to the Russian security. Now, friends, I do apologize for deviating, but back to the situation between Israel and Iran in the Middle East. Once again, friends, when Israel attacked Iran, damaging some of Iran's nuclear facilities, it led to leakage from these facilities. However, friends, Israel conducted such an attack on Iran right before Iran and the United States were supposed to be engaging in a nuclear talk. And many are alleging that the United States, basically under Donald Trump, set up Iran. Because, friends, in this case, the United States got Iran engaging in a talk while at the same time allowing Israel to attack Iran. Many are stating, especially prominent observers and commentators on geopolitics and international relations, that Israel cannot carry out any attack against Iran without the United States knowing about it or doing something about it. And information has been coming out that Donald Trump, United States, or members of his administrations knew about the possible attack on Iran by Israel, similar to what happened when Ukraine attacked Russia, bombing Russian air fleets. News came out that the United States or members of the U.S. administration, Trump administration, knew about it and they allowed it to happen. Russia recently came out with its conclusion that the United Kingdom was the mastermind behind the attack. Once again, friends, I do apologize for deviating. Now, in terms of the situation between Iran and Israel, allegations have come out that there has been a plot from Israel and also from the United States to assassinate the Iranian supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei. Now, that is probably the most stupidest thing that the United States could have done or could be engaging in. That is, aside from the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, which now is known to be an unfair war and a stupid decision by the United States. Now, the supreme leader of Iran, the Ayatollah Khamenei, is not only a political leader of Iran, he is a cultural and a religious leader of the country. Attacking that man, killing that man, I believe, is an equivalent to attacking religion. In this case, attacking Iran's Islam religion or Islamic sect of the Islamic religion. And I believe that could be very dangerous, troubling, and strategically stupid for the United States. Iran has about 90 to 92 million people. It is a large country. If you look at the population between Iran and the United States, if you compare, basically you can say the United States is about 3 to 4 times larger in terms of population. Now, looking at the Iranian population, if you split it in half, 50%, let's say the 50% is pro-Western, liberals, because the way the United States and the West works, they want to go into people's country and turn the people to be pro-them, pro-West, pro-United States. If 50% of the Iranian population doesn't like the current leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, the other 50%, if you split that in half, you probably might have at least another 20 to 22 million people who are diehard pro-Iran, who are going to fight to the death to defend their country. So that 20 million people in a country such as Iran that has its own strong base of research, scientific research, and in terms of military technology, if they come out and fight to defend their country, looking at the terrain of Iran, which is similar to that of Afghanistan, I believe that the United States is going to be in for a very big trouble, to the point where the United States could be humiliated, could be embarrassed. Now, friends, I believe that that humiliation or that embarrassment that Iran could cause the United States as a result of the United States engaging in an all-out war with Iran, and a very strong amount, okay, in terms of the population of Iran coming out and fighting to defend their country. That humiliation or embarrassment could be enough to destroy the Trump's presidency or possibly cause chaos, instability within the United States. Now, friends, the situation between Israel and Iran continues. But one important observation that I've made is that many observers and prominent thinkers on international relations and geopolitics and in various fields are coming out criticizing Israel, okay, and governments and figures within the global south are coming out criticizing Israel for what Israel did. Russia did condemn or criticize Israel, and so did China. However, for the West, Western leaders or government are not doing the same. Instead, Western leaders and government are still spewing the nonsense that Israel has to defend itself. As much as that is the case and that every country must defend itself, we all know that Israel initiated the current crisis in the Middle East. Israel struck at Iran first, not only attacking Iran, but also attacking nuclear facilities in the country, which now many are said to be emitting spill, okay, or spilling fume or whatsoever. Friends, the situation in the Middle East between Israel and Iran has caused chaos in the Western sphere and in Western government. In this case, it is very much prominent within the United States, among U.S. elites, officials, and so on and so on. Civilians are talking about it. People who are on the lower margin of society are talking about it. Influencers are talking about it, and so on. But among the few that are happening in the United States, the most prominent is that between the figures such as Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz and others. Now, Tucker Carlson is a very pro-Americans and pro the empire. However, friends, Tucker Carlson has been one of the most strong critique of the war in Ukraine, and not so much criticizing the war in Ukraine for the way it is being run, but criticizing the United States policy. And also, he is very much a pro Putin, pro Russia. But what is interesting, as I've observed when I look at people such as Tucker Carlson and others on the right, as much as they are criticizing Ukraine and the Ukrainian president Vladimir Zelensky, they are pro Russia, or they are saying good thing about Vladimir Putin and Russia. However, these same guys are heavily invested, or they are propagating a possible war against China. And also, friends, these guys are also supporters, okay, and strong investors in the empire and propagators of wars by the West, the United States, upon the global South and the rest of the world that is not the immediate conceptual white West, Europe, Western Europe, and the United States. So, friends, as much and as long as these guys are criticizing the United States government over Ukraine, they cannot wait to go to war against China and to go to war against the global South. They cannot wait to assert U.S. dominance against the rest of the world that is not the white West. So looking at it, these guys, as much as they may say good things that people in the global South may want to hear, people such as Tucker Carlson don't give a damn about the global South. Their perspective is a U.S. and Western dominance against and upon and over the global South. Now, friends, in terms of the situation in the Middle East, I have said many times that Donald Trump has two groups of people or backers behind him. One being the Christian right. And in this case, the Christian right has various sects. They are white supremacist, white nationalist, extreme Christian fundamentalist, and so on. They are part of the right, the Republican sphere. Now, the Christian right, these are guys who are heavily invested in the Bible, religion, and most especially in the Old Testament. These are guys who also believe that the world is going to come to an end and they want Jesus to come back. These are guys who I believe are not going to abandon Israel. In order for these guys, the Christian right, the Christian fundamentalist or Christian nationalist or religious nationalist, in order for them to abandon Israel, the white nationalist, the political nationalist must be prominent enough to push them away. And that is going to be the only way that they are going to abandon Israel. And part of that will mean that the policy of the United States is basically devoid or limited in terms of the influence of the Christian fundamentalists, those who want Jesus to come back, those who are not going to abandon Israel. However, friends, the other part of Trump's supporters are the white nationalists, the pro-Americans, the U.S. nationalists. Those are the guys who, as much as they may say Israel this, Christianity this and that, they don't care about Jewish people. What I think is going on in the Middle East, however, is a crusade. But the funny thing about it, the majority of the Islamic countries are either weak or they are in cahoot with the West. They've been subjugated in one way or another by the United States and the West. We are talking in this case the Qatar, Saudi Arabia, U.A.E, and the others. Iran seems to be the only part of the Muslim religion right now, or Islam, and the Houthis, Yemen, and so on that are fighting back. But what is happening? If Iran is wiped out, Yemen and the Houthis are wiped out, then the crusade is won by the West. What I think is happening is a crusade. However, friends, let's get back to topic here. You have Tucker Carlson and them criticizing Donald Trump because not only that Israel attacked Iran, but Israel is now crying, is now calling for the United States to get involved and to strike Iran. Recently, information came out that Donald Trump is saying that he is going to make the decision that the United States could get involved in the war in the Middle East against Iran within 2 weeks. And that Donald Trump has also issued an order to the U.S. military to begin to prepare a possible attack against Iran. The only thing that left now is for Donald Trump to give the final order so the United States can officially be involved. As a result, we are hearing or we are seeing wars within the MAGA, the right, and the Trump Republic, with many in MAGA and the Republican spheres fighting among one another. This is how and why we are seeing Tucker Carlson heavily criticizing Ted Cruz, who is basically talking about the United States has to bless Israel and that God is going to bless the United States for blessing Israel. So Tucker Carlson is criticizing Ted Cruz. Tucker Carlson is coming from the US/white nationalist perspective, while Ted Cruz is coming from a Christian fundamentalist or Christian nationalist perspective. And we are seeing this played out. Many in the Republican spheres and within the US populace are criticizing Donald Trump and the United States. And they are doing as much as they can to try to prevent the United States' involvement in the war. I believe they are doing this not only because they do believe that Israel was wrong, Israel attacked first. It seems to me that they are doing this because they realize that the war with Iran, there's a possibility that the United States is not going to win it. They know that the United States over Ukraine has been giving lots of its military assets to Ukraine to fight the Russians. They know that the United States is ill prepared. Therefore, a war with Iran, the United States could lose, could be embarrassed. What I think the United States has done over the past few years is the United States has exposed and continue to expose itself, continue to expose its weakness, that it is not invisible. This is why I believe that many Republicans are against Trump's involvement against Iran. Also, I believe that not only they do believe the United States could not win in Iran or against Iran, that just like Russia, the war against Russia in Ukraine, that should the United States go to war against Iran, the United States could get bogged down in the Middle East against Iran. We saw that with the situation in Iraq, in which the United States get bogged down in Iraq for about 20 years or so. Iraq was ill prepared. Iraq was not advanced as Iran is today. If the United States is getting bogged down in Iraq for about 20 years, the United States perhaps could get bogged down against Iran, supported by Russia and China, for about 40 or so years or more, while China is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So this is the reason why I think people such as Tucker Carlson and many on the right are criticizing Donald Trump, and they are very much angry and do not want Donald Trump and Trump's United States to go to war over Israel against Iran. And these people, okay, this group, as I've said, the white nationalists, are people as much as they are pro-American and pro-West and pro-white. As much as they may support Israel, they hate Jewish people. But friends, in terms of the situation in the Middle East, should the United States get involved against Iran, I do believe that Ukraine is going to suffer. Because if the United States get involved into a war with Iran or against Iran over Israel, two things could happen. Both Russia and China, I believe, will support Iran, because Iran is another stronger of the three. If Iran is wiped out, Russia and China are by themselves. Of course, Pakistan is saying now that if Israel use nuclear weapon against Iran, that Pakistan is going to strike Israel. And this is also because if Israel strike Iran with a nuclear bomb, nuclear fallouts are going to rain down on Pakistan. Now, in terms of the second of the two, when the United States go to war against Iran, Ukraine is going to suffer because the United States is going to have to divert lots of the weapons, lots of its assets in fighting Iran. A lot of American assets and Western assets are going to be diverted to the Middle East to fight Iran. In this case, my friends, Ukraine is going to be alone. Ukraine is going to be naked. Should the United States go to war against Iran, I believe that Taiwan is going to be taking close notice or should take close notice. Now, as I've said, you have the white nationalists who are behind Trump, who are now pissed off because of the possibility that Trump could go to war over Israel against Iran, which they do not want to engage in because they want to save their assets to fight China. But as much as I believe that Israel is much prominent in US policy than Ukraine or Taiwan. Now, friends, let's assume that the white nationalists succeed in persuading Donald Trump to abandon Israel. And if that happens, I believe that Taiwan is not only going to be in big trouble, but Taiwan should immediately begin to cool down the tension with China. This, my friends, is because if the United States can abandon Israel and the United States can abandon Ukraine, where white people with blonde hair and blue eyes are being killed, there is no doubt that the United States cannot abandon Taiwan when China stand up and fight and when China give the United States a hell of a ride. Now, friends, please tell me what you think, and I really want to know what you think. But friends, I am going to end here. I want to thank you for being a member of the Echoing Voice community, my friends, but most especially and most importantly, friends, I want to thank you a lot for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace, my friends. Peace.